It's my pleasure to introduce Peter Vargy with his speech entitled Superannuation. With his speech Superannuation, please welcome Peter Vargy.
Can everyone see the whiteboard? So how many of you would say that you are up to speed with what's happening with your superannuation monies?
It's going down.
Okay, which brings to my next question. How many of you do you think that you have enough money put away for your retirement needs?
We've already retired.
Well, tonight I'd like to speak to you about retirement savings, more specifically superannuation. We're doing it in 3 stages. The first stage is how the superannuation funds treat contributions. The second phase is what happens to contributions and the earnings in the superannuation fund. And the third is the tax and other implications when you withdraw your benefits. So I'd like to start. So the background to it is that the government is encouraging us all to save as much as possible for our retirement. The main vehicle of this saving is a superannuation fund. A superannuation fund is basically a trust. It has a trust deed governing all the rules of operation, and it also has a trustee who is responsible for the management of the fund and its various investments. The main source of regulation is by the Superannuation Industry Supervision Act, or the SIS Act in other words, and there are lots of tax concessions available if the superannuation fund complies with all the requirements of the SIS Act. So now we go to the second stage. The first stage is contributions. Now, contributions can be made by employers on behalf of employees. Usually it's a 9% of your gross wages, and it starts off when you are earning at least 18 and earning at least $450 a month. As with other expenses, the employer gets a tax deduction, but only if the superannuation fund is a compliant one. Now, if the employer doesn't pay your superannuation fund contributions in time, he's liable to pay the shortfall and also various penalties and fees. If you're an employee, you don't get a deduction for your superannuation contributions. However, you can take part in the superannuation co-contribution scheme where, depending on your income, the government will match your own contribution with a certain amount. So if your income is $28,980 or below, then the government will give you up to $1,500 if you make up to a $1,000 contribution. This phases out until your income reaches $58,980, from which point you don't get any co-contribution. You also can make spouse contributions on behalf of your spouse, depending on their taxable income. Usually the top, you can get a tax offset of $540 if if you make a $3,000 contribution and the spouse is earning $10,800 or less. And as with the co-contribution, it phases out until, and if your spouse's income reaches $13,000, you don't get any tax offsets for your contributions. The next phase is the superannuation fund itself, or the main savings vehicle. There are two types. The accumulation funds, where the benefits are calculated by the contributions plus minus the asset earnings, plus minus the values, the changes in the asset values, less fees and taxes. This is the more popular one, popular type of super fund, because it's more easier to manage, and the members bear all the investment risk, as opposed to the defined benefit fund, where your net benefit is calculated by a complex formula containing your period of employment and your salary. And with these sorts of super funds, the employer bears the investment risk. There are various types of superannuation funds. You have the corporate or the industry ones, like the big companies, BHP, Commonwealth Bank would have their own, and various industry sectors like the construction sector, they would have their own super fund. You've got the retail funds like AMP, Colonial, which anyone can become a member of. You've got the government or public sector funds, and you've got the self-managed super funds, which are growing more and more popular. One of the basic features of self-managed superannuation funds is that they have 5 members or less. All members need to be trustees and members, and vice versa. The members cannot be employed by one another unless they're related, and the trustee cannot be remunerated for the services performed in managing the fund.